Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jon Ferrian Live. We're here, and it is June 13th today. June 13th, Sunday the 13th, and we're here living large in the Pacific Northwest. Believe it or not, June 12th, yesterday, I was out snowmobiling. We were up at Bear Paw, Washington, right up south of the Canadian border, north of Mount Baker. Amazing zone. And we struck gold when it came to the weather. Like, man, it was amazing. It was supposed to be 40% chance of rain. We sucked it up. We checked it out. We got up there, and we literally rode partly cloudy, mostly sunny skies all day long. It was amazing. Go back to my Facebook page, check it out. It was awesome. Today, Edith and I took advantage of a rainy day. We went up, did a little jeeping today. Got a little muddy, got a little dirty. We did a little sightseeing. It was amazing. So as you guys are rolling in, let us know in the comments, how did you spend this amazing June weekend? Where you at? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We got Tia Smith from Santa Barbara, Kevin Carell. How are you doing, sir? Live large. Anybody who's tuning in and watching, share this out. Get the message out. Let us know where you're watching from, and let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Mr. Monty Wharton is in Bismarck today. He's from North Dakota. Guys, we've got a mid-layer jacket from Fly Racing Snow that's up for grabs just for watching the show tonight, sharing the show tonight, and then make sure you follow Fly Racing Snow on Facebook and Instagram. Check out some new Fly swag I've got going on. I got a beautiful new hat, got a new Fly shirt, got some good casual. If you guys can find these kind of things in their Fly Snow page, if you go to their casual section of the website, man, these are my favorite shirts. They're a dry fit shirt. They're amazing. They're so cool in the summertime when I'm going hiking or I'm out jeeping, dirt biking. Wearing this stuff underneath as my base layers. And then this mid layer, I've always got that thing with me. Even when I was out jeeping today, I guess it's over there. Over there? Over there? There it is. I was going jeeping today, and I had that mid-layer jacket with me in the Jeep, just in case it got a little cool out. We're good to go. So, guys, tune in right now. Let us know where you're watching from, and let us know what you did in this amazing weekend. And we're going to have Bryan Brumwell coming to us here. He's one of our board members from All American Heroes, got involved, and we got a lot of cool things going on here. So, Bryan, you ready for this? We're going to do this in 3, 2, and 1. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing tonight, John?
Good, good. Bryan, I'm so excited to have you on tonight, man. You're part of the family already because of all the connections you and I already share, and to have you here reach out and to have you live on the show with me tonight is amazing. So I appreciate you being on.
Well, yeah, of course. It's always an honor. It's a pleasure. It's good to finally get on and be able to share some
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So, I mean, you and I have gotten to know each other first through social media. As the All American Heroes, page started to come together, and you got involved with it. I got to know your name, probably most directly there. And then while we were at the sled giveaway at the Jackson Hole Hill Climbs, we had a chance to bump into each other there and say hi. So it was great to meet you in person, and now to have you on the show again. I'm honored to have you, man. So what's your thoughts? What you got going on this week? What's going on over in Idaho?
Oh, not much. It's 91 degrees today, so it's pretty warm. Everybody's just kind of looking at hitting the lake in the middle of the week when I can get out and do that with the family instead of on the weekends when everybody invades us.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because remind us where you're at now. Where are you located in Idaho?
So I am just south of Island Park in Ashton, Idaho, about 20-minute drive to Island Park. So we sit about almost 1,000 feet. Oh, no, not quite that. About 500 feet lower than Island Park. So
Gotcha. And so some might say you are pretty much in the center of the universe when it comes to backcountry sledding.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you got the Boondocker guys around here. You got Climb. You got all the companies. Fly's not too far away from us.
Yeah.
You got amazing snowmobiling. So
Yeah, like let's talk about it, right? So from where you live, how far is it to Island Park, West Yellowstone area? Like straight north, what, 30 minutes?
yeah, 30 minutes Island Park. I could actually go out my shop door and hit one of the Groom snowmobile trails that start here in Ashland, go up past Mesa Falls and all the way up to Two Top and then into West Yellowstone if I wanted.
How
I could
about
take up from here.
yeah, how about east, west, south? Like what else you got around you? You got a lot of amazing riding areas within just an hour or two of your house, right?
Oh yeah, I've got I can go over to Rockefeller Memorial Parkway, Teton, Sogi Pass, Alpine's not too far. You got over a little hidden gem. People probably going to get mad at me for saying this, but Stanton, Idaho area.
Okay.
Good sledding over there.
Well,
So,
St. Anthony sand dunes are not too far away too. Do you get into any of the summer activities down there?
yep, I did. I used to come down here growing up as a kid,
Yeah.
snowmobiling and dirt biking down at the sand dunes.
Okay.
So,
Cool, cool. So basically, grew up riding sleds. You've been riding sleds for years. In that other area. What else do we need to know about Bryan Brumwell, the man, the myth, the legend, before we get into the main story here? Anything you want to share about your family growing up? Anything you want to share here, quick, before we dive into the big stuff?
no, surprisingly, as young as I look, I'm 38 years old with 6 kids. So that surprises the heck out of everybody.
That's amazing. So I'm one of 6 kids growing up myself. So I'm eager to hear a little bit more detail around your 6 kids and your family. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So I've got a wife that I've been married to now for 5 years. We have 3 kids together.
Okay.
We have a 9-month-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, and then we have my daughters from my previous marriage. Got a 13-year-old, 11, and 9-year-old.
Very nice.
So
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. And what do you call your day job? In southern Idaho, there, kind of in your area. Like, what do you do? What do you do to make some money every day?
So I own my own landscaping business up in Island Park.
Nice.
Operate in Island Park and West Yellowstone. So, and then I'll throw it out there that I am also a disabled vet too. So.
Okay. Very good. Do you want to share a little bit about that, or you not wanting to share a little bit about that?
Um, I'll
Totally
kind of
okay.
shy away a little bit. Just no, it's nothing too bad. I mean, it's um, nothing really that's major.
Yeah.
I'm kind of one of those types that don't like
Fair
to
enough.
brag or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, no, no. So, I mean, it makes sense though that your ties, and I think we mentioned this briefly, but I'll call it out again. And please correct me if I misstate it, but you're one of the board of directors for the All American Heroes Foundation. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. I'm one of
Yep.
the board members for All American.
Yeah,
So
no, and that's awesome, and that's kind of how we've gotten to know each other a little bit is through the All American Heroes Foundation, and I've had the different folks like Aaron on the show, and some of your fellow
yeah,
board members have been on previously, and so your tie to your military background and how you're involved there, and how that kind of is tied into the sled community, it all kind of makes sense. We're all one big happy family. It sounds like out there, so.
exactly.
Awesome, awesome. Looks like we even have My Lynn here watching with us tonight too. She was on just a few weeks ago sharing her story about
Oh yeah,
the sled win.
I
So
watched it.
awesome, awesome to have her on. So thanks, Mylin, for saying hi. Um, well, let's dive into some of the things too. I mean, here's the stage I want to set up for everybody is where you live. We already called it out that it's kind of that sled mecca, in the Western United States. I mean, really, West Yellowstone has been called kind of the world headquarters for backcountry snowmobiling or for snowmobiling in the world sometimes, and you just naturally grew up doing it, right? And talk us through, the time that you kind of got into sledding, the sledding you did, the kind of sledding that you found yourself doing. And
Hmm.
then there was a transition point that we'll work our way up to, and then we'll pause there for a minute. But just talk to me about, how many years you've been sledding, the kind of backcountry sledding you've been doing, and maybe some of the risks you found yourself in, maybe initially not having proper training on avalanche education or safety training or, involved in clubs and wearing safety gear. Like, give us that, before the transition phase of your riding career and kind of what that meant in your life. So,
Yeah. So growing up, I grew up in northwest Montana, outside of Columbia Falls,
okay.
Montana, which is by Glacier Park and Big Mountain. We've always had a lot of groom trail systems up there that kind of go through a lot of avalanche country, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of growing up, I was always rode friends' sleds and, cousins or anything like that, anything I get my hands on between that. And then when I turned 18, I was able to finally buy my own snowmobile, and it happened to be a 1974 John Deere.
Nice.
Yeah, with a 440 Rotax engine in it. So
It's the mean green dream machine, right?
oh yeah, it was that was an experience getting it going and riding it. So, but it didn't stop us from going to some places that, as I look back now and start thinking about it, was the dumbest places. I mean, growing up as a kid, we never really think about what you do as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Prime example would be this just shows how much of a dumbass I am. I don't recommend anybody ever doing this, especially today, because I'll be one of the ones jumping on you. But a buddy of mine, I'll keep him nameless.
Sure.
Him and I took ATV that we had. He was on a snowmobile and I was on the ATV and went up behind Big Mountain, Montana,
Okay.
up there at Whitefish area. And he had this hill called Fiberglass Hill, which everybody hill climbed on. And it was an avalanche chute, known avalanche chute. And that's the only place I could get off the groom trail to go play around on the ATV was this avalanche chute.
Yeah.
And we found out when we got up there that it had slid that day, or at least the night before, sometime right in there before they groomed it. So it was a lot of fun playing in there. But I look back now and go, that was the stupidest thing I could have done as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, like, how old were you at that time?
I think I was 17 at that time.
Yeah, I mean, at that point in our lives, like all of us, especially young men, we're all invincible, right? Like, we don't maybe have somebody who's teaching and coaching and mentoring us and, putting safety in our mindset. And so we get on these machines, whether it be an ATV or the snowmobiles that you were on over the years, and it's like, let's just see where they'll go and how far they'll go and how fast they'll go and how high they'll go. And it's all about that adrenaline rush and that push, right? It's, just getting into it. And frankly, if we don't have a role model of some kind that's teaching and coaching us and mentoring us to do something the right way, I mean, we're guaranteed to make mistakes. Like, even my original riding career in the West, like I was a avid snowmobiler, my whole life pretty much. But when I first got into mountain riding, it's like the only thing I knew about mountain riding was what the guys I rode with was teaching me, right? Like I just hitched my wagon to somebody else and I followed them around. And if they were safety conscious, then I was safety conscious. If they weren't, then I wasn't. And I'm sure it was the same thing you experienced, right?
Yeah, it was. There's times where the trails would always cross snowmobile or avalanche chutes. And as we come up to a chute or something like that, it's just one of those things where we kind of look up. And if it slid, we didn't give it a second thought. If it hadn't slid yet, we're kind of like, yeah, it looks just fine. And, we go by single file as quick as we can and go through it. Where now, hindsight being 2020, you kind of look at it and go,
yeah,
how did the groomer get through that chute?
Yeah.
So, it's something that, we all make mistakes. So.
Well, we're talking also about the fact that, you're in this incredibly dangerous terrain and you probably at the time weren't even, maybe early days especially, weren't even aware of avalanche safety gear. And then later in your riding career, maybe you were aware of it, but still maybe chose not to ride. Like, tell us a little bit about that and kind of your mindset about like beacon shovel probe or any other safety equipment that you might be worried about, pre your transition point.
Yeah. So like, I'll try to caveat off that a little bit. I grew up 18 years old watching all this old Slednex videos and stuff like that. And Adams, Garth Kaufman, and Chris Brandt and all those guys, jumping and doing all this crazy stuff. And, being 17, 18, 19 years old, we're like, oh man, we want to be like those guys. We want to do that stuff. So, we were always willing to push envelopes. And as years progressed, we always kind of started looking and hearing about, a beacon and a probe and how they found people and then buried in avalanches, more often than not, they're already deceased. And then, it's funny is I was even deputy sheriff up in North Idaho for a couple of years. And, I haven't been on personally on a couple of recoveries, but I've been in the recovery side of a couple of avalanches. And just seeing how that stuff worked kind of made me kind of go, well, that's interesting. Well, that'll never happen to me because I don't go into those areas that often.
Not that often.
Yeah, no, not that often at all. But, it's just, we never really thought too much about it. I knew what the equipment was. I knew what it did.
Yeah.
But I didn't really think too much of it.
Yeah. So what was the transition moment for you? Like, what was the moment where you made a conscious decision to seek out, whether it be a little training or maybe a little avalanche safety gear, or like, and was it, I'm going to make a little speculation here and I could be totally wrong, but I'm thinking you said you have 6 kids, right? And I'm guessing all of us as fathers, as we get to have responsibilities, we start thinking of other people besides just ourselves, right? Is that part of that transition that happened for you?
Yes and no. I've always been one of those type of guys that's always been like, oh, you can't jump that. Oh, you want to bet? Yeah, you can.
Don't tell me what I can't do, right?
Yeah, exactly. My transition, I would have to say, would be kind of like what you mentioned with family. Was as I got divorced and then remarried and all that, and had some more kids. I eventually got rid of all my toys and everything like that while I was in the military. I'll kind of back up a little bit. I was told when I was in Air Force that it's either going to be my Air Force career or dirt bikes, snowmobiles, and stuff like that. And I chose the Air Force. So I gave up all my toys and everything.
Yeah. Who made you make that decision? Was that just a personal choice, or was the Air Force telling you that, or what was it? What was the person or the thing that was? What's that?
It was my commander.
Your commander. Okay.
Yeah, my commander was telling me, hey, you've been injured so many times. You're not deployable anymore. You've got so many shoulder issues, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
You got to keep something up. So that's what I did. I made that conscious decision, get out of family.
Yeah.
So, but no, to fast forward now, I haven't had anything in we live up in this area that's the Mecca of snowmobiling.
Yep.
And my wife last year just up and decided, hey, you know what? You've been working your tail end off. You've been doing everything, and keeping us together. You kind of deserve a little something in return. And we went out and started snowmobile shopping.
Gotcha.
And I've been out of the game for probably about, I'd say almost 10, 15 years. I hadn't really rode much, besides going on vacation or something like that, and jump on a rental sled or some friend's sleds or something like that.
Yeah.
So we found a Polaris Pro with a 174 800.
Okay.
And I started riding that. And as I started getting back into the sport and everything, I started looking on Facebook and following the groups and stuff, and following the people I knew that were in the sport. And I actually ran across an ad, or not an ad really, but it was like a posting in the Island Park Classifieds.
Okay.
And it was for Adam Anderson Avalanche Project by Summer Anderson.
Which those who watch the show regularly know that name and that organization, because we featured Summer Anderson and the Adam Anderson Avalanche Project, give or take, about a month ago. I think it was that she was on and shared her story. For everybody who, just give them a quick up to speed is, Adam Anderson passed away in an avalanche not too far from where you currently live, near Mount Jefferson, near Island Park, Idaho. And Summer Anderson had taken the initiative after the funeral to try to do something to make sure that this never happened to anybody again. And so she started making available avalanche safety gear at a local dealership in your area, not too far away from you. And just trying to make a difference and trying to get signing up in the areas too. And so it's so funny how all of these worlds collide sometimes, and how so many things, how small the world is and how it crosses over. And so, back up for just a second and start talking about the story about you saw the ad for the Adam Anderson project and what Summer was doing. Yeah. So take us from there.
Yeah. So what I saw in there was actually posting about her posting up about a couple of the Avalanche beacon check stations. And the one is, I can't remember what trailhead, but it's out by a Shotgun up in Island Park.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh, I wonder what that's about. So I kind of dove into it and started looking at it, and I was just like, oh, wow, well, this is pretty cool. Then I found out that she has, free rentals for avalanche bag, probe, shovel, everything that I grew up going, I don't need those. I'll never need those.
And at this point, you hadn't purchased any of those items for yourself yet, had you?
Nope.
Yeah. So this was an opportunity for you to get some safety equipment and at least try it, use it, figure out how to use it. So take it from there.
Yeah. It was a perfect scenario really for doing what I'm doing now, where I'm at. Probably wouldn't end up this way if things didn't happen as they did.
Okay.
So as I investigated what was going on, I was like, this is probably a good idea, because I do have the kids, I do have a family, 6 kids, relying on me and all that. What if I don't come home? I read Summer's story and I was just like, oh man, that's hard.
That can't happen to me, right? Like, it's kind of what you're thinking.
Yeah. Yep. It's like, I got to do something to make sure I'm as safe as I could possibly be.
Yeah.
And with the training in the military and in law enforcement, you always are looking at how you could be safe doing your job.
Yep.
So that's the approach I took with it. And
well, think about this for a minute, just to draw a parallel for everybody. And I think, being military and police, those things are simply inherently dangerous, right? Like it doesn't matter
Yep.
if you're training, if you're active combat, whatever it is, but the nature of those type of jobs or those career paths are just naturally dangerous. And so safety is built into every piece of those kind of things, and it's not that different from the idea of, action sports, right? So snowmobiling is an action sport. Like I'm out jeeping today and like precariously hanging off of, roads where they're washout and like, is the road going to hold? Is it not? Are you being safe? Are you not? When you're going on dirt bike and are you wearing a helmet? There's all these things that we do in this action sports
Yeah.
world and these careers that you're in where by driving home safety and process and checklists, you're mitigating, you're allowed to have as much fun as possible while mitigating unnecessary risk is probably the best way to say it, right? It's just there's always going to be
Yep.
risk, but just mitigating the unnecessary risk and driving home the process and the safety and having the right gear makes many times all the difference in the world, from a close call to an actual fatality, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's whether in law enforcement, military, snowmobiling, dirt biking, or anything else like that. It's all, you take calculated risk, like you're saying.
yep.
It's, what can I do to litigate those risks? What can I do to um, push it off to the side to where I don't have to worry about it because I'm being safe. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like you said, wearing a helmet or something like that.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the approach I took with snowmobiling, was like, okay, what can I do? And so when I saw that, all those posts, and when I heard about the free Avalanche, equipment rental, I was just like, that's something I probably should look into and do.
Yeah.
Um, so I went up to not Action Motorsports. Sorry, that's one of the places that do the rental equipment.
Yep.
But High Mountain Adventures in Island Park.
Okay.
And I checked out the beacon probe and shovel, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos of how to use them. And no joke, if you would have saw me in the parking lot, everybody's looking at me like I was out there or something, because I'm sitting there like pulling apart the probe, going, okay, this is just like a tent pole.
Exactly.
That's how you put it together and all that.
Yeah. Well,
like, right,
and good for you. Many people, even when they buy new gear, they just shove it in their pack and they're like, okay, I got it. Good. Like, but to actually take it out and make sure they understand how to use it and how to practice with it and all those things, like, good for you for taking that initiative. I mean, you think about it, like, we all sometimes, especially doing things like, safety testing stuff too. And like, I've experienced it firsthand where, people look at you like you got three heads sometimes when you're like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm doing a safety meeting. We're going to talk about avalanche risk. We're going to do, check our gear. We're going to do this. Why would we do that? It's like, it's not because I think it's going to happen today. It's because I want to build such a habit and such a ritual that it just comes second nature, so that the day that I do need it, I don't have to think about it, right? Like I want to be prepared by just having it in my routine every single day. And so that's awesome that you got started that at a very early stage. So
yeah, it's interesting is people are so afraid to look stupid doing something.
Amen.
That's it.
The good news for me, Bryan, is I look stupid all the time. I don't have to worry about looking stupid any particular day. It's all good. You just do it every day.
I'm right there with you on it, And it's funny, is I always used to get the funniest looks at the beginning of shift when I was a cop. I'd be sit there and I'd make sure, and I'd ask everybody to make sure my my magazine was empty and my the gun was empty and everything like that. And then I'd sit there and I'd just sit there and draw before every shift to get used to that draw. And then I'd go through and take the cartridge off the taser, check the taser, and draw the taser. So it became second nature all the time for me. And that's, like I said, that's the approach I took to doing beacons and the probes and everything like that, is making sure everything's second nature.
Yep, that's awesome. So talk to me about this, though, because this is something that I've speculated about, and I think in my opinion, a best case scenario is you use the equipment from Summer Anderson's project, right? The Adam Anderson Avalanche project. And how many times did you use the gear before you finally took the initiative to buy your own personal gear?
It took me, just because I had a family, I had to make sure that we had enough in the winter, so it's slower for me.
Yep.
So I rented it probably almost every time I went out, which is, as my wife would say, every weekend, but it was like every other week I went out. Whether it's just going somewhere where there's no risk at all really of any kind of avalanches, I'd still go up there, check it out. I'd say probably about 15 times.
Okay.
15 times.
But through one season, like in one season, though, it sounds like that would have been.
Yep.
And then before the season was over, you then started to get a hold of some of your own gear, it sounds like?
Yeah, yeah. So I bought my own shovel. Was the first thing I bought, and
Yep.
then at one point I met up with Aaron McCarthy
Okay.
and stuff, and I actually was presented with a bag, an Avi bag,
Nice.
um, and all that to do it because he knew that I was using the rental program, I guess. And I'm not 100% sure why I was presented with that, but hey, I'll take it.
Yep. Yep.
And then as soon as I got that, a couple weeks later, we were doing a barbecue for the foundation part of, and they had a beacon in there that was just the right price. I looked at the wife and I was like, and she's like, "Yep, let's do it." So
That's awesome.
my birthday present to me.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that, by having the equipment available, it inspired you to start using the gear. And then as you used the gear, you got familiar with it. And then as the opportunity presented itself, you secured your own gear and became a huge, sounds like now we're here talking about it today, is you've become this huge advocate for avalanche safety and education based on what you've experienced. And so, programs like what Summer does and what I do, we all do this stuff with the hopes that we're inspiring people to progress, for themselves, right? And however that means for different people. Some people might use it one time and then just throw down and go like, "Yep, I need this stuff. I'm just going to do it." Other people may rent it longer because, maybe it's a financial hardship or whatever it is. Those are all things that everybody's in a different place. And so the ability to kind of inspire folks, I mean, frankly, that's why I do this show every single week, is because I continue to hear the feedback that people are inspired by the conversations we're having. They're hearing ideas of like people spending the night overnight, and it's what keeps us motivated and going. And so hearing firsthand from someone like you, but a little surprise for you, Bryan, is Summer Anderson's actually watching the show right now.
Good. I called her up and told her about it. So
Yeah, she's
you
she's
better
here.
watch it.
She's
So
here cheering you on. She says, "I love hear Bryan using the program. He's become such an awesome supporter of the Avalanche project." So she's giving her a shout out and appreciation for you doing that. So thank you for that.
yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, so okay, fast forward, you've used the gear, you started the project, and so let's just talk me through it. Then it's something you kind of already teed it up. Like at some point, you
Yeah.
started interacting with the American Heroes Foundation, All American Heroes Foundation. Keep rolling with the story.
Yeah. So as after the second time I rented it and stuff like that, and I was once again on Facebook and looking at the Island Park Classifieds page and saw the Adam Anderson, and then all of a sudden I saw this thing called All American Heroes pop up with Summer Anderson on the Adam Anderson Avalanche project.
Yep.
And I was like, what is this? This is something like I've been thinking about, is how to get more vets or something like that involved in snowmobiling. How can I create a nonprofit to do this? And lo and behold, as I started doing more research, all of a sudden I was like, dude, I've got to get involved. I didn't even talk to the wife or anything. She kind of got mad about it. But I went through and just sent Aaron an email about basically what I had thought of. And it was almost identical to what he has.
Yeah.
He came up with. And so right off, we kind of hit it off and just been talking. And then next thing you know, I'm on the board and just doing anything and everything I can for All American Heroes Foundation and for the Adam Anderson Avalanche project.
That's awesome.
So
very cool, very cool. And so All American Heroes, the Adam Anderson project have all been, influential in your career. And then through the All American Heroes Foundation, I know a big point of that organization, speaking to Aaron and just having experience with you guys, is that avalanche education and training and veterans, it's such a great match and kind of the way things are formatted. But then Aaron and you guys have started putting together opportunities for avalanche training, right? And so talk to us about that and the partnership you guys have created with, I believe it's Brian Lundstedt of Tyler's Backcountry Awareness, which is one of my partners as well, which is awesome. I love the fact that you guys utilize him. He's been an amazing, amazing partner for you guys as well as me, it sounds like. But you guys have started putting together scholarships and programs for veterans for that, and you had an opportunity to attend one of his classes this year. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit. The
sure.
class I was actually part of unfortunately wasn't Brian Lundstedt because I couldn't make it down.
Yeah, my apologies.
But I used Eric Knopf with 6 Point Avalanche out of Bozeman, Montana.
Awesome.
And if I could have made it down to Colorado, I would have went down there too.
Yeah.
Looks like everybody had a lot of fun. But I used that through the foundation. I got the scholarship for it to put put vets and first responders through Avalanche 1 training at least, and then carry that on to Avalanche 2 and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Our goal is, to get as many vets and first responders through it as we can, and just not only stop at just the Avalanche 1 training or anything like that. It's just to keep their education going as well.
Okay.
So that's when I attended that's when it really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And I go,
and so this is really important, right? Like, so I think of, before you got exposed to the Avalanche, equipment that you had and all that, like, I would consider you, I say this kind of very sadly and remorsefully, that the everyday average rider out there who's just unaware of what's out there, and frankly, the word ignorance is the right word, because it's the idea of you just don't know what you don't know, right? But there's such risk and there's such danger out there, and there's such ignorance of what you're up against, and you go through this world untrained, and I pray that someone out there who's watching this will hear a message and a story like this, and then fast forward to, like, oh my gosh, what was the things that really, really stood out to you going through your level 1 Avalanche training, knowing that, like, I was average Joe snowmobiler out there putting myself and my friends and my family at risk. What was the big takeaway you had going through your level 1 training?
Big takeaway was actually seeing the day before or that night.
Yeah.
That slid on slopes that I would have thought of.
Yeah.
We were out there doing our Avalanche training in moderate avalanche conditions.
Okay.
And it was one of those type of deals where we had to pick and choose, where we're going to set up our snow pits and stuff like that, because the danger was so extreme right then and there.
Yeah.
We were just south of Big Sky, Montana.
Okay.
On day 2, you could hear the cannons going off, and they're setting off as many avalanches on Big Sky as they can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an eye opener. It's just, going down a trail where everybody's riding down, and we ran into a couple of Forest Service guys going over an avalanche, and looking at it and measuring it to report it.
Yeah.
That was like, I would have never thought, that something would have slid right there, because that's the place I would have ripped across it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the big takeaway. And I'll put words in your mouth, because I know you talked to me about this during our pre-talk, and I've heard this over and over again from everybody else, is like, I can't believe how many times I've gotten lucky, right? Like, or, I look back at the way I used to ride, and I'm like, wow, I got lucky all these years. Knowing what I know now, holy smokes, right? What a difference there is between what I used to think was everyday okay versus now how I approach the backcountry. And so talk about that a little bit now. It's like, as you go out into, because what month did you take your level 1 class? Was it kind of mid-season, early season, late season?
It was, when was that? It was February.
Okay, so you got to ride after that Avalanche class, right? Yep. So talk to us about, what did you do different after you took your level 1 Avalanche class than you used to do different before? Like, what are some of the new routines or processes, or what are you looking for? Maybe riding, places you would go, the way you'd map it out in the ahead of time, whatever it is. Just talk to us about some of the changes of the before and after you took your level 1 Avalanche class and some of those takeaways.
So what I do is, every morning I get up before I ride and everything like that, is I just do kind of a pre-check. I check the sled and everything like that, but then I made it a habit of getting on the phone and checking all the latest avalanche conditions, because Gallatin National Forest, which is, kind of does the areas where we ride up in Island Park and everything like that, they'll issue the forecast and the warnings for all the areas up around Island Park and West Yellowstone. So I check it on my phone. I check their website. I check anything I can about avalanches in the area to see if there's been any reported or anything like that.
Okay.
If I see something where it's a moderate avalanche danger or anything like that, where the risk is a little bit elevated, I'm going with a small group. We'll kind of elect to take some of the meadows out in the middle of nowhere that might be untouched or something like that. They got to go through tight little narrow trees to get to the wind stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll go play in those areas. But the other thing I started getting the habit of is driving up out of Ashton, up into Island Park. You'll have where the highway goes through and they cut it, and you'll have some pretty good slopes in there. And I just pay attention to where I know when the snow plows go through, and you'll see the snow slough off. Okay. And you'll see the snow, and you can tell when it takes more snow with it. And when I look at that and I see that, I go, okay, that's a sign. That's a cue right there that this, even down here, this low, the avalanche danger, it's going to be different, but yet it's still going to be somewhat similar to where we're going to be riding.
Yeah.
So as I travel through Island Park, once again, I'm just talking to people. I'll stop in at the local dealerships up there. I'll talk to them if they're open or anybody that's up there, and then we make a conscious decision on where we're going to go.
Yeah. And and I'll echo part of what you said too there. And it's something that people always ask me. It's like, well, John, do you ever not ride because of the avalanche danger? And here's what I share with people is the idea that, here in the state of Washington, if the point where the avalanche danger gets to literally extreme, like, literally extreme, the interstates are usually closed because of the avalanche. They have to blow the avalanche and stuff too. And so, like, if the avalanche danger gets high enough to the point where I wouldn't ride, usually it's because I can't get up the interstate, right? Because the interstate's closed. Outside of that, like, I have identified terrain and areas that are literally not in avalanche terrain, right? Like, that's the thing is, as you go through the training, you can ride pretty much every day regardless of the avalanche danger, because what you do is you take the information that you get and you make decisions on where you're going to ride that day. Like, the worst thing, frankly, all of us can do is just to say, like, I'm going to go ride this particular spot this day because it's my favorite area to ride. The problem is like, it might be your favorite area to ride, but it may not be safe to ride on. Like, I'll tell you, like, literally yesterday, the area that I rode yesterday is an area called Bear Paw here in Washington State. And it's an area that, frankly, unless it's a green day, I don't know that I would ride that area. I save that area for spring riding for me. Like, if I lived up there midwinter and I was closer, it's like 3 hours away from me. And so if I was closer, there might be a couple of days where, like, green or, moderate, maybe. If it got up to considerable, you wouldn't find me anywhere near that area I was riding yesterday, because there, just to access the area, you're riding right into, like, big avalanche bowls and avalanche chutes, and, you're going over big slopes and everything too. Like, it's awesome spring riding, but it's high risk riding area when it comes to avalanche danger. I actually had a guest on, I think about a year ago, that had triggered an avalanche up in those same bowls where I was at just yesterday. But it was a February, March timeframe, right? It wasn't June,
right.
And so that's what I mean by, like, I'm going to go into extreme terrain when I know it's safe to do so. If it's extreme avalanche danger, my terrain choices and the locations I go completely mellow out, and I might be riding, flat trails and meadows all day. But if it's that high of avalanche danger, it's probably epic powder, and I don't need to go on crazy big hills to entertain myself. Like, I can go down in a meadow and do wheelies in a little snowdrift, or, just do powder turns and stay in some low angle slopes or in the trees where I know for sure I'm safe if it's, a low angle slope, and have a blast, right? I don't have to go steep and deep just because that's my favorite place to ride. It's like, what's the danger scale? Where should I ride today? What the skill level of the group I'm with that day?
Yeah.
All of those things come into calculation because we've gone through the training. It's not just this big unknown anymore. Now it's this idea that, man, now I've been trained, now I understand it, now I can make good decisions and feel good about it, right?
Yeah. Like, when it's high avalanche danger up here, I mean, I spent a lot of time this winter in a place that's 10 minutes from my house. I literally would just load it up on a trailer and drive 10 minutes up the highway and jump off the highway right then and there and go.
Yeah, I hear you.
Some of those places I went, man, I couldn't believe where I found it, and where there's no tracks or anything like that, because I was the first one up there, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. A buddy and I would just go up there and go hit these little hills and stuff that were just fun as heck.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things where you constantly gotta pay attention to it, because if not, you're not gonna. Yeah, there's a good chance you might not come home.
Nope, absolutely. And so with this newfound interest, your connections to all these things we've talked about already, you now have kind of some goals. Like, I don't know that they're fully, happening yet, but I know you've got some things in your mind about how can you continue now to pay it forward and, support your community around you. So talk to us about some of these ideas that you're trying to chase down in your area. So
yeah. So one thing that I'm working on is one is try to get more avalanche rental bags,
okay,
and all that. And I've kind of got a line working right now. I won't say too much about it, just because we don't know if it's going to happen or not. But try to get quite a few more avalanche bags that people can rent out. And then as far as for me, my goal is to eventually get certified to the point where I can start instructing it.
Okay.
Whether it's on as part of the foundation or not, it doesn't. To me, it matters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's where I want to be able to pay that forward to people. I want to be able to say, hey, listen, let's do this a little differently because of these reasons.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully I'll continue my education and with it, go to Avalanche 2 and then Pro Avalanche.
Yeah. Well, I'll just put it out there too, because I think this is a perfect tie-in and a great time for me to kind of bring it up is that, big premise for this show, and you guys all see the hashtag live large, and for most of you guys know that there's a website out there you can buy live large merchandise. And I'll just remind everybody that if they purchase live large merchandise, 100% of those profits that would come back to me would actually go to Erie to support a live large university scholarship program, which of course is literally for what you're talking about, right? So someone like yourself who is applying to become an Avalanche instructor or has some way to impact their community in their area in a way, there's an application process that's in place. And we're just getting ready to ramp up for next season here. And so, Bryan, I'm going to encourage you to apply because your path and go in and, literally go and apply. But it's just a call out for everybody too. Like if you're interested in doing something where you can impact your community and make a difference in your community, whether you want to become a pro instructor, you just want to inspire other people to become educated and get trained, those are all options for people to apply for the scholarship program. You can go to the website. Here's the other thing I'm going to shout out is that we literally are going to put a deadline on all the products that are currently on the website right now through the end of July. I just talked to my printer the other day. So through the end of July, we're going to leave all the current product up. Last chance to get most of it. There will be some basic shirts, the Live Large with Jon Ferrian Lavender, that'll stay. But most of the other designs that are on there are going to have an expiration date of July 30th or July 31st. And at that point, those will all go away. So last chance now to go in there and make any final purchases over this next month or so and get in there. And all of those proceeds will go in and support the Avalanche cycle. So again, you can wear Live Large gear. You can support Avalanche training, get guys like Bryan trained so he can come back out and become a trainer for all of us in the backcountry community. So the whole thing is set up to support itself, right? It's kind of the snowball effect that we kind of the synergy of everybody supporting everybody and what's going on. So it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, and that's I got kind of caveat off of that. That's what All American Heroes Foundation, our kind of goal is more geared towards veterans and first responders. And I'd like to add with that, we get a lot of vets that are interested in it.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems like a lot of people do is push veterans.
Yep.
But as a former first responder myself and a couple of them on our board, I think we're kind of forgotten about. So, I challenge anybody out there listening to this, to invite your top friends, your first responders, whether it's firefighters, if you want to consider them first responders.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of an inside joke, but, EMS personnel, anything like that, to share this with them and to get them involved, whether it's with Live Large or All American Heroes Foundation.
Yeah.
Just, this stuff is, it's life or death. It really is. You get all these pro snowmobilers out there, that we've lost quite a few of them.
Yeah.
That we've lost people that we shouldn't have lost, John.
I hear you.
We shouldn't. Yep. From a multi-billion-dollar industry, we've got to do better. We've got to, because
that's why we're here fighting so hard every day, buddy. That's why we keep fighting.
Exactly. It's something that it shouldn't be taken lightly, and I know a lot of people kind of do. And then it's
that's where the sharing of the show is so important too, right? It's like, it's something as simple as, Kyle P. Franklin, he shares the show every week, right? And it's like one Facebook friend of his who might see this, who might not have Avalanche training, may see a show like this and it may change their perspective, it may change their understanding, and it may push them to get the gear, to get the training, to make a difference in backcountry sledding, right? And so that's why these shares, when we ask everybody to share and we do these contests and I'm giving away merchandise, that's all great and it all feels very fun. But what I'd tell you is that I've got a very consistent group of people who share the show every week, and that's great. But what I'm looking for is those folks who maybe don't usually share, right? Like, take it upon yourself to know that one share, it's not just about promoting the show. It's not that about it. It's literally that a story and a message like this, somebody's going to hear it that hasn't heard it before, that's going to be inspired to take action, and it literally could save their life. It could be your friend, it could be a cousin, it could be who knows, whatever it is in your lives. that's why we ask everybody to share these shows. We put a little
Yep.
extra incentive in there to do it, but the whole core root of it is just to get this message out and inspire folks like what Bryan's experienced. So
Yeah, it's, and I hate to bring up the summer thing, and all that, but like hearing her story and everything that happened, it's just
yeah,
one of those things that tugged hard at my heartstrings,
amen.
and just going, I don't want myself to ever go through that.
Yeah,
My family go through it, and I don't want any of my friends and have to be there on the sidelines, helping my friends' wives or anything like that go through that. It's kind of funny, with age comes wisdom, right?
yeah, amen. That's
So,
awesome.
I'm just
Okay.
glad that I was able to see all this when I have, instead of after the fact, after I've been caught or anything else like that. So
Yep.
uh, that's the other big takeaway I have from all this is not only do you want to wear the equipment and know how to use it, but you want to be able to pull out your beacon right away, get
Hmm.
your probe out quickly, and to be so sufficient with that it's just second nature, and you can pinpoint and find somebody within 5 minutes
Or
and have
less.
both, yeah, or
Yep.
less,
Yeah.
preferably less,
Yep.
and and that's why it's important to do the beacon checks, the beacon
Yeah.
check station, checking amongst your friends or anything else
Yeah.
like that, because it's literally life or
What I
death.
and I think people, if you've never, people who are watching, right? If you've never done like, hey, Avalanche, pull out your gear right now, how fast you can do it, like, and you surprise your crew and your people that you ride with. If you've never done that before, you'll be surprised of how many people struggle with it. They'll sometimes not even know where their probe is at in their backpack, right? They'll have to
Yeah.
like dig
Yep.
for it, or they'll look for it, or it's buried so deep that they don't even, they can't even see it in there, right? Or their beacon, they may not even understand how to switch it from transmit to search. That's a big deal because
Oh yeah.
even if you know what you're doing, Bryan, and you got three other people in your group and one of them doesn't know how to switch over to search, now you've got an extra beacon in your area that's going to
Yep.
interrupt your search for the person who's under the snow that their life is counting on it, right? And so
Yeah.
it is a big deal. And so you've got to do this training, you got to do this practice, you got to, just be proficient at it. And so getting the training is a big part of it, but practice, 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 right?
Yeah, and and it's funny with all that is something that I've been talking with Aaron and a couple other people about is as a foundation, we're trying to come up with plans this winter to
Mm-hmm.
where we have like either it's an invited ride or a ride. We don't know if it's going to be a ride open to everybody, but basically it's going to be kind of a competition to where out somewhere we're going to have a coordinates to help people navigate.
Yep.
They can take their time getting there and have fun riding, but once they get onto the simulated avalanche situation,
Yep.
the stopwatch starts. And so they're going to have to find, an avalanche beacon, for example, at one station.
Yep.
Next station might be having to dig somebody out, and they're going to get points deducted for not, having some way to call for help or something like that, whether it's radios or cell phone or something like that, not having a plan, they'll get points deducted for it. And all that's just, you know, as a game, whether it'll be a reward afterwards or something, we're not sure what's going to happen yet, but there'll be just a way to get people out to have fun
Yep.
and train with that equipment to where they want to become fast because they get an awesome prize at the end.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of amazing things tonight, Bryan. I'm just kind of looking through my notes, and I feel like we've covered most of it. Is there anything else that you have on your notes, or anything else that's on your mind that you want to
Um,
chat a little bit about?
the one other thing that we're trying to do with the foundation too is we've kind of stalled out because the snow's gone, but is
Okay.
getting together with some of the local search and rescue groups and sheriff's offices and stuff that are in the jurisdictions to come up with these little videos, because everybody sees the little videos of ATV safety and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I know in the Midwest they have snowmobile safety and you can take classes on it and stuff. Um, Out here we really don't have anything like that.
Okay.
So we're going to try to get together with them and, at rental places, maybe have like a iPad or something like that with these videos that just repeat just these safety things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something else that we're kind of looking at and trying to push.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got a lot of good things, heating up, and just knowing you now better, and knowing Aaron the way I do, you guys will continue to ramp things up and make a huge difference in the sled community. So keep up the great work. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, anybody out there who's been, helping you get to where you're at now and doing that you want to give some shout outs and some thank yous to as we wrap this up?
Oh yeah, yeah. Big thank you to my wife for putting up with all this.
Amen.
I don't think, yeah, I don't think she knew what she was getting into when here's snowmobile.
That's awesome.
So I kind of think she didn't believe my stories or anything like that, when I was younger telling her stuff. But yeah, just big thank you to her and for everything she's done for us and the family and enabling me to do everything like I'm super passionate about. So Jasmine, if you're watching, but she might not be because I hear my kids out there outside playing.
Hey, there's always there's always the replay, and when her husband's
Yep.
on the show, she's pretty much obligated to watch it. So she's gonna have to make her go back and watch it. So.
Yeah. To my family and kids, they're just huge supporters, especially my 13-year-old daughter. She can't wait to get her own snowmobile and get out going.
Amazing.
So I got to work on that. Summer Anderson, she is absolutely amazing. Her Adam Anderson Avalanche project is, it means something to me. It's helped me out, and I kind of get emotional thinking, talking about it just because of
it's awesome
how eye-opening it was to me. And then the Aaron and All American Heroes Foundation, and Tommy and Josh, all those guys that have kept me motivated and have made an All American Heroes Foundation possible. To everybody else I've met in the industry that just loves the ideas, everything going on, and wants to help. From you, John, to Brooke, and I'm not going to mention last names right now, but
all good.
There's just a bunch of people that I've met that are just absolutely awesome people. I love this sport. I love the industry. So hopefully I can give something back here eventually.
Yep. No, that's awesome. Well, Bryan, I really do appreciate you coming on, and I think you got a great story to share. And every once in a while, I like to kind of call it the average Joe, out there backcountry riding, and this transition point of evolution of where they've gone, and you've taken it to the next level, right? Like the things that you've gotten involved in, and your inspiration to now pay it forward and make a difference in your community is commendable. So I appreciate what you're doing, and awesome job. Appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's why I reached out, because I figure I'm just an average guy that just had his eyes open.
Yeah, the difference between you and every other average guy out there is that you're actually doing it and making a difference, right? So.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Cool.
I appreciate you having me on and everything you've been doing. It's awesome. It's great.
Yep. Happy to be here every week, and it cuts into my jeeping time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I could have been jeeping later in the day if it wasn't for the show tonight.
Yeah.
But that's my struggle every week, and that's the commitment I make to the community and what we do every week. Is it's this time commitment that I commit to everybody, that we're gonna do this every week, hell or high water, as they say. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, My final shout out to everybody is always the same. God bless everybody. Don't forget to live large and have an amazing week. Thanks, everybody.
God bless everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.